Hey, what's up guys? Brandon Washington here, and in today's video, if you couldn't tell from the thumbnail or the title of this video, I did it. I went ahead, pulled the trigger, I bought my dream camera. Alright, so for those of you who don't know, I did just buy my dream camera, which is the Canon 1DX Mark II. Now, this camera has been getting crazy good reviews all over the internet. Lots of professionals have been using it because it is a really good DSLR, but it's also a really good video camera, and it has some amazing specs. And so when I initially saw it, I was like, that is my camera. I want that camera so bad. But I never thought I'd be able to afford it, or even if I had the money, that I'd be able to bring myself to putting that much money on a camera. But I will say that with the way my business has been going and growing, I've been blessed to be able to pick up this camera. So let's first talk about some of the specs of it. Then I'll give you guys a little bit of the pros and cons of what I've thought about the camera in the few weeks that I've had it. And then I'll give you guys just a couple reasons why I chose this camera. So first of all, some of the specs. So the reason why I was drawn to this camera is because, first of all, the video specs. It shoots 1080 at up to 120 frames per second. And it also shoots 4K at up to 60 frames per second. Now, this is really the only Canon DSLR that does that. Now, I love Canon. I've been a huge Canon fan for, as long as I've been shooting, which is almost 8 years now. Actually, maybe a little longer than 8 years. But I've been a huge Canon fan that entire time. And so I've been waiting for Canon to come out with a camera that would reach these specs. Now, I was a little let down by the 5D Mark IV. It just didn't reach what I wanted it to, and so this is kind of the next big step. So this camera has all the video specs that I've been looking for, apart from going to like a cinema type camera. But all in all, I love the way this camera shoots video. Now, the other thing I like about this camera is it's a phenomenal stills camera. This is by far the best photography camera I've ever had or ever worked with. And so the stills that come off this guy are just flawless. They're amazing. And I've had so much fun shooting with this camera over the last few weeks, and being able to switch from video to photo instantly and having like an amazing footage or an amazing shot each time has just been perfect. All right, so that kind of leads me into some of the pros of this camera, and that is it's very versatile. You can literally use this camera for just about anything. You could be shooting sports, you could be shooting a concert, you could be shooting wildlife, you could just be shooting stuff for fun with your family. It really doesn't matter. This camera can pretty much shoot anything, and that's one thing I love about it. I feel like I can get a call about just about any job, and I am confident that my camera will be able to not limit me in shooting for that job. The next big pro out of this is just the 4K. The 4K looks phenomenal. Whether you're shooting at 24 frames, 60 frames, it just looks really good. This camera shoots phenomenal 4K, and it looks really well once you get it over to your laptop as well. With that being said, the autofocus that kind of accompanies all the video, it's just great. It's really good. The facial recognition software is right on point. You also have the tap to focus, so it does have a touchscreen, which I love. The only thing I wish it was a swivel touchscreen, but it is what it is. And the last big pro for me is it's Canon. Like I said before, I'm a huge Canon fan. So the fact that I have all Canon lenses already, I can just put that right on this camera. I can get the best autofocus experience. I don't know. It's hard for me to switch from something that's not Canon. Now, even with an amazing camera like this, there are a few cons, a few things that I don't necessarily like. Starting off with the file management system. This camera creates massive files, which has been a huge issue for me. Using it to shoot YouTube videos like this, or using it to shoot content for other people, other jobs, trying to manage the file sizes that come out of this camera have been quite the challenge. I am going through hard drives after hard drives after hard drives, and dealing with that has been a huge issue. So if you're thinking about picking up this camera, definitely make sure you have some type of solution, or be prepared to try to come up with a solution, because you will run out of space on all of your hard drives fairly quickly, unless you're just sitting there with, 24 terabytes worth of storage. And I'm not even joking. You really need a lot of storage. That's not an exaggeration. The next con to this camera is the price. And I'm not even just talking about the price of the camera itself. I'm talking about like the price of pretty much all accessories. You have to use full frame lenses on this thing, so all your lenses are gonna cost more. Your memory cards are way expensive. If you want to be able to shoot in any of those great video modes, you're pretty much going to be shooting on a CFast card, which is not the same as a CF card. Even though this thing does have both slots, it has a CF card and it has a CFast card, slot. You are going to need a CFast card, which is very expensive if you want to be able to shoot in 4K or 1080 at 120 frames per second for longer than just a few seconds. And then the last con, this one's more of a pet peeve of mine. It's not really a con, or I don't know, you can take it for what you want. It's a very big camera. Now, I like how big the camera is. It's easy to hold on to, has a great grip. But the problem with how big it is it doesn't fit in any camera bags. Every camera bag I've tried to use this with, they're designed for just like 5Ds or or 80Ds or A7Ss, mirrorless cameras, things like that. Most camera bags are not designed for big body DSLRs like this, and the few that are, in my opinion, they're just kind of ugly. They're not really stylish, and I look at style when it comes to picking my camera bags. So that's been one huge issue I've had. Pretty much I've had to break this camera down every time I've tried to put it in a camera bag. So I've had to take the lenses off, put the caps on, which isn't the way I like to travel, but in order for it to fit in my camera bags, that's the only option I have. So I'm still looking for a great camera bag for this. Once I do, I'll let you guys know. And if you guys have any suggestions, please leave comments down below. All right, so the last thing I want to talk to you guys with is why Canon, or why did I pick this camera? Because I know there's gonna be a lot of people commenting down below, why didn't you go with the Sony, or the Sony has similar specs, or the Panasonic has similar specs. Why did you spend so much money on this camera versus, another one? And pretty much it boils down to, I like to shoot on Canon. That is my preference. I love this camera. I've loved this camera since I first heard about the specs, and I knew I wanted this camera. I know I could have bought like a Sony a7S II, or I know I could have bought a, Panasonic GH5 and had, great quality. Don't get me wrong. Those are amazing cameras, and if you like those cameras, you should really, really consider those cameras. But for me, this was the camera that I wanted, and a camera that was going to work well for my business. And I didn't want to settle. See, I felt like if I would have bought any other camera, if I would have bought a Sony a7S, or if I would have bought a Panasonic, I would have been feeling like I was settling on a camera and not getting the camera I truly wanted. So anytime I would have tried to shoot something and I wasn't getting what I was looking for, I couldn't get my looks right, or I couldn't get that, that really good Canon color that I like, I would have been like, oh my gosh, if this just would have been, the Canon 1DX, I wouldn't be having these problems. Or I would have been feeling like, I bought this camera, and then if I made a couple extra, made some extra money, then I'd be like, oh, I should have just saved and waited and bought this camera. So that's what I chose to do. I decided to just save and wait, and save and wait, and save and wait, and wait till I could get this camera. Because this is the camera that I wanted, and so this is the camera that I felt like was going to be best for my business, and it has been. It's already been working super well for me, and I've used it on quite a bit of shoots. I've been traveling with this camera already, and it is everything that I thought it was going to be. Alright, so that is a brief rundown of my dream camera. I'm super excited that I bought this. Don't get me wrong, I have bigger aspirations for cameras. Like, for example, I'd love to own the new C200 or even a Red camera, but I'm just not there yet. Like I've told you guys before, I don't come from money. I have to work for everything I have, and I even don't do things on credit. I try to buy all my stuff cash. So, as you guys can imagine, that takes a lot. So, with all this being said, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel and you love videography and you love, making films for YouTube or for personal, or for even how to make money, make sure you leave those comments down below. Now that I've finally told you guys what camera I've been shooting on over the last couple weeks, I'll be putting out a lot more videos because I didn't want to make those videos yet until I was ready to tell you guys about this camera. And I wanted to make sure that I did love it and I was going to keep it. And trust me, this is an awesome camera. So if you're on the fence on if you should pick one up or not, or if you're not sure if you should save your money and buy this, or you know, just buy something cheaper just because, strongly I recommend save your money and buy this. If you have to buy something else, go for it. You know, do what you have to do, obviously. But if you are in a place where you think you can pick up this camera, trust me, you will not regret it. So with all this being said, thanks so much guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.